It's like Google seems to have gone all out, huh?
Yeah. All right, we're live. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Another episode of Monero Talk. We're here with Felix. I don't want to butcher your last name. How do you say the last name?
Honigwachs. Technically, it's German. It's a long story how that came about.
All right, I'm gonna stay away from the last name, man. I'm just gonna go with Felix. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, we were beginning a little bit off air. I guess you were asking us, which is a good question. When did we start this show, and how did we get involved in this?
Yeah.
Started, I guess now it's been 2 months. I don't know, maybe 3 months, but really it was just out of a need that we saw in the community. I mean, I've been in the Bitcoin community for a while, since like late 2013, early 2014, and I've always just kind of been a lurker, an investor, but just like kind of a lurker in terms of participating in the actual community. And then, I got into Monero and I watched Monero, and I was still a partially Bitcoin maximalist. So it always, in that world as well. And it got to the point where I was just concerned that the Monero message wasn't really being spread enough for good reason, because of its decentralized nature and its lack of marketing team. I just felt like there was no one really coming to bat for Monero. And especially listening to all these Bitcoin maximalists just kind of talk about the tenets of what a crypto should be, but then glossing over Monero as if it didn't exist, or calling it a scam, or whatever it is they're saying. So I just felt like there was a real need here to start to kind of advocate on behalf of Monero. And then my real goal is to just kind of get information out. But obviously, I'm a little bit biased here, being this being Monero Talk, and me being a lover of all things Monero. So I'm not going to say this isn't PBS News by any means. This is, I certainly have my opinions. But that's how I got the start. And the Monero community being as awesome as it is, I just found it very easy to get in touch with people in the community and then wanting to participate. Also, we had participated in the Consensus event in New York last year. I teamed up with Vic from Cake Wallet. We got friendly with him. I had met up with him in New York when
we love the Cake Wallet guys. Yeah.
So that's how I kind of started to get more involved in the community. We had attempted a startup called Quick Monero, which was basically a way to buy Monero for cash over the counter, like buying like phone cards. Just kind of dabbled in it, tested it out.
But love the idea, though. Maybe just a year too early.
Yeah, well, no, it's really more so just being in New York. Obviously, it's very, I didn't want to go to jail, so it was kind of hard to launch it elsewhere without being on the ground. So I'm I've slowly moved on to I guess something else where I thought I could contribute more, and this is kind of been a good fix for us. I mean, because I'm reading about Monero every day. I'm always, I'm always involved in the community. So for me to jump on a chat isn't a big leap, and it's been fun. It's been great.
That's awesome, man. This is like, I mean, it's like I love what everybody is. I love what everybody's doing. This is like I love the fact that we've got terms for things now, maximalist, and all of this. All of the stuff, and it's like we all know, we kind of all know what it means, but I sort of live in the real world, sort of 10% of my time, and then it's always hard to explain what all of these concepts are, and someone asked me the other day what a scam is. I'm like, look, it actually doesn't necessarily always mean that someone is doing something outright illegal. It can be also used just to, just to give something a name that is sort of at the bare minimum suspicious.
The term scam has been butchered, right? I mean, in my world, in New York, a scam means there's an intent to steal and rip people off. Now it seems like scam just means any project that's not Bitcoin.
It's so true. It's Monero was a scam, right?
Right. So
Maybe still is. Who knows?
yeah.
That's no, just jokes. Yeah.
I mean that sales point worked pretty well for us in the beginning. Don't buy Monero. I've come to really appreciate Fluffy's what I think is his reasoning behind saying that. I think he kind of helped really steer the ship in the beginning and create a community that was kind of naturally filtered out to people that weren't just looking to make a quick buck, but that actually believed in the technology and were here to build something. So it's like, don't get involved unless you really like Monero and want it for what it's supposed to be.
It's so interesting, right? Just like because then I suppose we try and make it accessible for people on an ongoing basis, and that's becoming increasingly easier. But I think when we started out, which was sort of at the in late 2014, it was almost unheard of. And it's just like and to make things usable and to drive adoption and to build a real business around it hasn't always been easy. And I think we've sort of taken a position similar to what you've just said. It's like to kind of says, well, if you don't get it, that's cool. There'll come a time, hopefully you will. That's maybe on you and not on us.
Let me check. Yeah, I don't know.
This is like technical challenge.
Cutting out a little bit. I think we're good though.
I'm moving too fast in front of the can.
So how did you initially get into crypto? Did you come for the Bitcoin community?
Not really. It's like I was an open source for quite some time. So the whole movement around open source and really making things accessible and working together in a community-driven sort of development model was something I've been doing for quite some time. I then moved into the dark side, as some people call it. I worked for some nasty big proprietary software vendors, and this is I think when Ricardo met Fluffy, this is like, by the way, he sits quite literally directly behind the Monero sign right now, and we understood, I think, more so than others, at least at the time, that the opportunity is a different one. It always sounds cheesy, right? It's about building new financial systems. All of these things. It's like, if you wanted to take something away from this, I've got quite a simplistic view of looking at it. It's like we're promoting better ways. It's like there's absolutely no denial that there's benefit in creating not parallel but superior financial systems, and we're probably at the beginning of it, not in the middle, but very much at the beginning of it, and it's maturing, and it's a fun and exciting time. And I think but everybody that works here is enthused by that, and by contributing to the greater Bitcoin community at large, there were some elements that we felt are more important than others, and that's probably quite a personal view that we take here, or in the at least for us from a company perspective, but then also more so from contributing to the community and making a point that privacy is important, and it's important to hold for a whole variety of different reasons, and it means something different to everybody. But here, privacy is important to us, and people that work with us think so too.
So it was Fluffy approached you for like you had known Fluffy, and it was through non-crypto means that you kind of got into GloBee, or were you really
completely? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how long have you been like in the arena? Just so since you've been in GloBee?
Yeah, so quite some time, and quite some time before that. But we've taken, it's taken us 18 months now,
Mhm.
or before launch last year, just to build the product. So that was sort of the first that was sort of the first thing that we wanted to that we wanted to get right, was that let's not rush the whole development process. Let's not try and push out a product that might be sort of subpar and that's going to do nothing in the end. This is like we really wanted to sort of start from a very solid tech base, and we wanted to think about the architecture of our code and how we're going to do it and what we're going to do, and spend real time. And so we've had just over 17 developers work on it for 18 months, until we even went public, and then of course last year we went public in October, or just before that actually. Then this is
was with the Mariah Carey. That was right, wasn't that?
That's correct. Yeah, that's right.
That was a good morning. I remember I woke up to that news on Reddit. I was like, oh, this is cool.
That's right. So we went
like wasn't expecting that, because I know we were all waiting for. I think Fluffy had kind of pre-announced it a little bit that there was something being worked on, and it was definitely a pleasant surprise.
And that was sort of one of the interesting learnings, right? This, like, if you because you have to sort of translate the whole the whole engineering thought that you had behind it into sort of real world scenarios, and you have to get clients. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, this is like no business survives without having someone that uses it. And that was sort of the first sort of initial test to kind of say, hey, who else sees what we see? Is there anything at all? And then we kind of and then we put these sort of Shopify plugin deals together that were Monero centric and Monero specific, which is the Mariah Carey thing that you're talking about, to kind of say, it's like, hey, do you want to be paid in Monero? Do you see what we see? And luckily it was. It was that way, and since then, it's been.
Is GloBee funded? Is it or is it just kind of like bootstrapped by Fluffy, or?
Yeah, I think it's bootstrapped by Fluffy predominantly, and we did not take any outside money. We are majority funded. By Fluffy, and then of course with there are some participants in the community that see what we see, and that have put some money in.
Oh, we just broke up for 1 second.
I said we are bootstrapped for the most part, then by Fluffy, and then by the community. So there's some community members that quite actively participate, and we're sort of very open source in that type of way that we.
I think I had donated. There was. I remember. Fluffy had run a donation at that time before he had announced what it was.
That's right. Yeah.
But I thought that was a good idea, because that really got the community obviously interested in the product, and kind of brought everybody together on it. So are you an active Monero use? So what is your take on Monero versus Bitcoin, crypto in general? Now that
this is like I don't want to be too controversial. I'll leave that for I don't know, the next magical crypto meeting or something.
No, let's get controversial, man.
Look, I think we've taken something from the an idea that the community or the XMR community at large incubates, and kind of build the bridge, the bridge to the real world, if you want, because that's essentially what we do here, right? There's just like, so we take the ability to accept a cryptocurrency, any for that matter, whether that's XMR, whether it's Litecoin, whether it's Bitcoin, it actually doesn't matter to us, and make it real for people who've got nothing to do with crypto. And that, I think, sort of enthuses everybody here. You could be a mom and pop shop that's selling flowers, or that's selling something something completely unrelated to crypto, and you just see this as a mechanism in order to get sort of new clients or to access a new market or something like that. Or you can be you can be in a specific unregulated market, like let's take some of our merchants, Kratom for example, that just can't get a bank account. And they say, we are 100%, we are 100% crypto ecosystem. No one that interacts with us does not have crypto, and no one that sort of buys anything else expects any other way of paying for it. And that's sort of, I think, the biggest opportunity that we see. But largely, we started this in order to build the ecosystem, to drive adoption, and to give people means in order to accept us. That's sort of the first part, without being kind of fluffy about it. This is, and then and then the other part is coin choice. Fuck's sake! I mean, really? Oh, sorry. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Say whatever you want. I don't care.
Okay. So is coin choice, right? That is just like there are people out there that don't just have Bitcoin.
Right.
Why don't it's like, why don't they have Bitcoin? Because they made a choice. It's like I don't want people looking into my into my affairs. I don't want people kind of having oversight, whatever that means, about what I what I choose to spend my money on, which is why I kind of which is why I choose Monero or any other privacy coin for that matter. And that means something to us here.
Mm-hmm.
So when we let me not say we. That is just, but when we observe his fearless chairman criticize other people's AML and KYC policies. So you've seen the exchange with Eric, for instance, last week on Twitter.
Yeah, I want to get into that eventually. Well, first, before we get into that, so
yeah,
right now, GloBee currently is a way for merchants to easily integrate Monero kind of into their web store or whatever, and accept crypto. Right? It's an easy way for a store to start accepting crypto, an online store to start accepting crypto, and then I guess seamlessly convert it into Monero, Bitcoin, or fiat.
That's correct. Yeah. So that's sort of what we've got a whole bunch of tools in the background that make that really easy. Got over 27 or so plugins for your web shop. You can use our API, or you could do it manually on our web front end.
So who would be like your main competitor in the space? That's I guess, who's the Bitcoin version of that? I forget the name of the company.
BitPay.
BitPay. Okay. So it's kind of similar to a bit. Is BitPay still doing the same thing, or are they added now? Are they in?
Hard to say where they are. Then this is public. This is public speculation about some of our competitors, which we never shy away from. But we do this on Twitter all the time. But this is
would you consider them your competitor? Would you consider them kind of a?
I don't actually, Dennis, and I'll tell you why. I think they're sitting in a seemingly rather comfortable space. They seem to have a very captive audience that keeps using them, and thus we've got a very different route to market. We also sit on a very different technological base, and also so our ability to innovate from within, this is without needing to carve into shareholder pressure and all of that, is reasonably unique. I don't think we compete with anyone in the world with that. We've got zero outside institutional money. At this with that comes zero pressure, and we develop the right products and the right in the right time frame that are extremely relevant to people we think value our services. And what you see over here is extremely important to us, and so we want that to do that with the right level of security and in an environment that allows us to put that value proposition forward. And I can, and our merchant growth, or the individuals and organizations that work with us. So that's just over 8,000 at the moment that do that on a monthly basis.
8,000 merchants that are Oh wow.
Yeah, this is active. Then this is for
Okay.
that matter.
Yeah.
Then it's those who are registered are way over 20,000. Then it's about 8,000 of them sort of interact with us on a daily or at least on a regular monthly basis.
Mm.
And that's that's testament kind of to our model. Tech first, we're an engineering company. This is nothing else matters here. It's like we're doing things right in the right timeframes without pressure from anybody else in order to do it. So when we release, it works. There's nothing. You see very little support calls in that sort of say, oh, this is not working, that's not working. This is my BIP 70 issue is unresolved. When are you going to resolve it? Then it's just like and sort of wishy-washy responses of when this is going to be resolved. Just doesn't happen with us because we designed it the right way from the beginning. And then secondly, also we're listening. We're listening to people talking to us and having an opinion. We value the input from the community, and we take what they're saying or what the intention is very, very serious.
So I guess you were kind of the overall vision or I guess mission of GloBee. I mean, don't let me put words into GloBee's mouth here, but it sounds like you were saying before is to bridge, I guess, the fiat world to the crypto world, and more particularly the Monero world. Is it
provide fair? Absolutely provide a real life, provide a very seamless experience for any merchant that wants to get into crypto, or any organization for that matter, and through that sing the gospel of XMR.
Mm. So what do you see as kind of being like, I guess, the next product or things down the line? Where's GloBee headed in terms of fulfilling this mission?
Sure. This is like, we're under NDA here. But, so I think there's let me rather talk about challenges that I think we think we can add some value to. There's just, I think there's a huge opportunity, I think, for a whole variety of different organizations, us included, and hopefully we'll get there first, in order to be the one-stop shop. So any type of payment that you want to be making as an organization, to have a crypto-led platform. And that's incredibly important. So whether you want to whether you need to accept payments from people who want to pay you, then through crypto, whether you need to do something with that money, then you need to make payments to other people, or you need to sort of increase the reach that you have with that. Then the actually running your business, being seamlessly able to swap between XMR and BTC, and thus for whatever reasons you might have. So to create that real platform that at the moment a whole variety of different products can only do in one seamless place.
Okay. And then how about from the user's perspective, the customer, not so much the merchant, could we expect anything to be done in that area as well then too?
It has to, right? Then it's just because you can't be seamless without kind of thinking about the person that is actually using things. Those challenges need to be resolved. Those money needs to move from A to B. Money needs to be managed. Money needs to be sort of sensibly used, and there need to be sort of people that do that. Then there is just no place where you can accept money, then it's seamlessly exchange it into multiple currencies and actually transact with it. And this is, some people might call that sort of the real life use case of a crypto bank. Then this is whatever that means. But for me, it's about solving problems. It's like that's really what we want to do in the most profound and seamless way.
Well, could GloBee eventually become a place where users would be buying Monero with fiat, with cash, like kind of a Coinbase of of
who,
Monero, or where you're not
who,
going
I mean,
down that road?
who knows these things, right? Then
Okay.
this is it's like, but if you want to have a seamless platform, then in which you trade with, in which you can trade with different currencies and store them in the way that you want it, and accept payments and make payments and all of this. That I'd imagine that be a component, right? This because you'd need a mechanism to acquire it.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about Monero is that it seems to be built in such a way where it improves as more people actually use it as a currency. It's kind of built to be
Precisely
used.
right. It's built to be used. It's so true.
Yeah,
It's like I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that in any better way. So, and that's sort of how I think about that. That's sort of how I think about everything. We building this for people to be usable, and in order for that to be usable, just I keep using the word, then it says, but it needs to be seamless. You got to be able to do stuff. You got to be able to buy Monero. You got to be able to spend Monero. You got to be able to satisfy people who don't want Monero, and you got to be able to and you got to be able to have one place where you can play all of these different scenarios out.
Mm-hmm. So I guess where do you see? Because I mean, I think the biggest hurdle is getting us from this kind of speculative stage, or even store of value stage, to actually consumer stage, where people are using it as a currency and making actually buying things with it. How do you think we get to that point? Is that just a matter of time? Is that something that like the companies are going to be helping to assist with, or is that just obviously that's a problem that the whole crypto community is struggling with. I mean, it's kind of like which comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's like a chicken or the egg problem a little bit. At what point does Monero start to be used as a currency?
I've got a theory about it, and I think there are many, and there's and I don't think that at least the way I think about it is very mature at this point. I think there are one of the interesting ways of doing something like this is to go where it really hurts. Right, then this is so into communities, countries, things where, for instance, the currency is very volatile. This is like Venezuela is an interesting is an interesting example of that at the moment. Turkey is another one. Zimbabwe down in Africa. There's a whole variety of different countries all around the world that are experiencing hyperinflation and sort of related challenges with their currency associated with that. And that is a place where Monero can thrive. This is like, because you can easily build up communities that only live on Monero, and that's then what it matters. So that if we get to a stage whereby people are using it as a real store of value, not thinking about what it sort of means and whatever their native currency is, what it means to the US dollar, what it means to the things, but it's actually say, hey, it's just like then this is like, my grocery bill today was 0.5 of a Monero. How much was yours? Then this is a tomato or a bag of potatoes was valued in X Monero. You see the signs everywhere. There's just no there's just no other currency, and I think that's when it wins. That's when everybody wins.
Are you guys paid in Monero, or are GloBee employed?
Sorry, yes, I was just, I don't know how much this. Let me answer it this way. This is like, there are some people in this organization that are paid in Monero while complying 100% with any applicable tax regulation that might be there in their respective countries in which they might live.
Of course. But I mean, that right there is good for the ecosystem, obviously, right? I mean,
it's like, I think it's the only way that this is this is assuming all disclaimers and compliance is obliged to by any given point, then it's the only way I think this can be done, right? It's like you got to live in the ecosystem. It's you got to be able to experience on a real on a real life basis what it means to live in crypto. It's certainly we are, and a whole bunch of our different crypto friends all around the world are as well, and I think it's important, because if you don't live in it, then you don't know what it means.
Is GloBee contributing to kind of Monero itself as well? Like is
Oh yeah. So we've got a whole bunch of different developers that are contributing on an ongoing basis.
What type of things? Like, well, for example, I see you guys working on Lightning Network, obviously, because for the purpose, for the business you're in, that certainly makes sense. Is that kind of tying into?
Totally. I mean, it's like so. I mean that is sort of one of the bigger problems that we sort of trying to help with is the whole issue about scaling, right? Then it's just so scaling, and I think you hear sort of Ricardo talk about it all the time about these big challenges in crypto at large. What does scale mean? What is what is it? What do some of the bigger technological challenges mean to everybody? And for us, we interpret that technically always into Monero. So this is like we thinking about Lightning, we're thinking about sort of user adoption, we're thinking about some of what are some of that, do some of the elements mean associated with that. We were quite a big participant. I don't know if you saw that at DEF CON just now, sort of working with the community in the Monero village in helping to kind of think through the next steps and what sort of some of the more practical projects mean in getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say Lightning is controversial in the Monero community. That's probably the wrong word. I think people are apprehensive for a few reasons. One, just because I guess they hear how Lightning is going to replace everything, right? So Lightning on Bitcoin Bitcoin will now be fungible and private, and you'll be able to zap it to anywhere for free, essentially.
Such a hard one. I've got no real opinion on that, to be honest, at the moment, because I mean it's like, so let me give you a practical example. We just participated quite actively at the Lightning Hack Day in Berlin. It was amazing. I mean, it's just to kind of see the enthusiasm and also the possibilities, the different kind of solutions that everybody is.
Is that where you made the candy dispenser? I saw.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the candy dispenser, which is a concept that we presented first at DEF CON and then kind of took to the Hack Day, and it was amazing. I think there's nobody that kind of disputes that that Lightning is an incredible step forward for Bitcoin. Is it for XMR? I don't really have the answer. And I've got no opinion, because probably I'm kind of still evaluating the odds and things. And I know it's very controversial. Then I can ask the gentleman behind the Monero sign over there. He'll have a much more inflammatory opinion on this.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to have that conversation one of these days. Yeah, I mean, because that's something I think everybody's trying to figure out, like you said. Yeah. But I mean, even, I don't know, did you see Jimmy Song the other day? Posted a video the other day, I think it was yesterday, basically saying, does privacy or fungibility, should we even want it to be part of the core protocol, even if we could make it part of the core protocol? And I was just kind of shocked by that cognitive dissonance that he's now it's, we don't even want. It's like when you don't get into the club and you're like, well, that place is dead anyway. I don't know. We don't even want privacy or fungibility. Even if we could put it onto Bitcoin, we wouldn't want it, because for the reasons he was saying, which I thought are they sound logical, but it's the fact that he's now making this argument that it wouldn't even be something desirable for having it built in the core protocol sounds a little extreme to me.
I mean, to me it's like to me it's like, why are people saying that? It's like because are you I don't know how serious to take these public sort of utterances anymore, to kind of say,
Right.
well, are you just doing that to kind of add more followers to your to your Twitter feed? Do you really mean that? Is this like, is this a is this like an intellectual argument that you're trying to make sort of without using the scientific process? I don't know. So it's I don't know why people say these things anymore.
Yeah.
So it's if there's a real argument to be to be made, is there some backup info that anybody can kind of look at that sort of that takes this into account? Yes. And then and yeah, so I don't know. I see these things from time to time. I don't know what people are thinking. Is this sort of, you woke up one day and is this your thought for the day, or have you been working on this for weeks and this is this something you're putting forward and you want real discourse, real discussion on it? I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't see how in one breath you say how, Bitcoin is supposed to be digital gold and, censorship resistant and, unconfiscatable. And then another breath, you're like, well, and we don't even need fungibility or privacy. We could do that on, another time.
It's hard to it's hard to tell. This is like, from my feed, it's like I don't participate in many of these in many of these discussions. Maybe I'm also too realist and things. It's like I'm interested in the science. I'm interested in the I'm interested in the background. If there's a if anybody wants to explain themselves as to what their ideas are really based on, and what informs that. I'm the first to listen, but if it's just something you say for PR, then I don't know.
So where is Lightning? Like, so you said you guys went to this hackathon. I've seen posts for months on Twitter on progress being made. Little snapshots of apps, test apps being used. It's like, oh, somebody's buying a coffee for basically for free instantly. At what point is Lightning going to be like on my phone, in my app, on my like Bread wallet, or like, I mean, I'm just trying to understand, like, where is it actually at?
I think, if you want a good answer to that, I mean, invite Elizabeth Stark or anybody from her team kind of to answer that. Then it's just, but I can just see I can just talk about what we've sort of noticed in participating in some of these events. Incredible amount of enthusiasm, incredible amount of technical skill that are participating in this movement. I don't know if you've seen sort of Snike's, Christian Decker from Blockstream. If you've seen Snike's sort of remarks at the Lightning Hack Day, I thought it was incredible. I thought there are some real intellectually capable minds that are thinking this through. I know some of the Lightning team personally, having interacted with them for some time. I think they're doing their things. I think the work that I've been doing on the app is great, or just generally working on the protocol. And when is it going to be on my phone? I don't really know. I'm very much looking forward to that day.
And then in terms of Lightning being used on the Monero protocol, is that something that
I can tell you about Lightning in relation to our to GloBee, right? Then it says it's off the hook. It is sort of in the $50 and below transaction sort of space. That thing is off the charts. It's we see thousands of transactions every day. It's it's really being used. It's as good as they say. So from that perspective, it really means something. But yeah, Dennis, I can get you a qualified opinion on if and when it'll be on Monero from the lead maintainer. who just
Okay.
walked past, by the way.
Get him on. Yeah, I would love to try to understand that more from a Monero perspective. So wait, when you say it's kicking ass over there at GloBee, you mean people are using
Bitcoin.
it? No, the Lightning on
Bitcoin.
And are you using it to make purchases and really?
Yeah. I mean, it's like as you've seen. I mean, it's like, so we were the first to just launch it in order to accept, well, the first gateway to kind of integrate it, and daily, there's thousands of transactions being made in exactly the way that it should be. Look, I mean, we're limiting it at the moment at $50, so I suppose we don't know really what the potential is on the upside. But for the under $50 transaction, it's amazing. It really it's zero conf in real time, man.
That's incredible.
Yeah, this is and I was one of the skeptics, right? So I wasn't 100% sure if this really if it was going to work from the beginning. We kind of made the investment into really being early adopters, working closely with the Lightning team and also with Blockstream in order to get it up and running. What now, 2.5 months ago, I'd say, and just essentially just after consensus, it already was live. Then we've literally had zero downtime, zero issues. So it's been incredible, just kind of as in running the node and actually setting up the infrastructure in order to maintain it at scale. That's been a really good experience.
So you were touching on it a little bit before about the Eric Voorhees and Shapeshift and Fluffy. What was the point Fluffy was really trying to make there with GloBee in terms? Because I mean, you guys don't have to do. Your merchants need to create accounts anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the concern was with customers that are making purchases that they may have to do KYC, AML, or what?
Yeah. So that's the look. I mean, it's like the. I mean, this isn't the public domain, and I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't know. So the issue is that the whole criticism around the membership, model that Shapeshift is I suppose deploying over the. I think they've got a period or something. Is it 6 months? And with the sort of transition period to this membership model, but essentially everybody's going to be KYC'd at some point, and that just goes against kind of the initial agreement that Shapeshift had with its users to say, hey, then you can come on and you can do whatever you want, and we'll just be the service that sort of puts the middle finger into any financial institution's face. And that's just no longer true. And I suppose the argument that Ricardo and I suppose others are also making is that, and I've got no personal opinion about this, by the way. So the argument that seemingly everybody is making is kind of say, well, is it because you've taken the money? Is it from institutional investors, and are you being forced in order to regulate yourself? And I think he's given sort of an indication about his sort of personal position on that, because he lives in the US and he wants to live there. Wants to further live there, so they have to comply with regulation. And some people are making reference on sort of the New York agreement, if you want. And these are all problematic things. I know from running a globally relevant crypto business that these are not easy decisions.
Yeah, I mean, but what is he supposed to do? I mean,
you got
to stay out of jail, right? You can't.
I don't know his personal. I don't know his personal situation, but I mean, it's like he might have a family or whatever, and this is like he's got things to protect, and besides his personal situation, he might have he's got investors that also want him to do well. This is like, and others are just less public about it, I suppose, and they're doing the same thing.
I mean, I
And
just see it as a great opportunity, I guess, for things like what's it called, BISC, like these decentralized, right? I
yeah.
mean, they're really starting to prove their use case. Do you know? Are you familiar with those? And do you have any opinion on
I,
those?
I am to some degree familiar with them, but I've got no real I've got no real opinion, because I don't want to, this is like, I know the complexities involved with regulation. It's like we are, this is like, we've got a whole horde of lawyers that take retainers from us all the time. So it's like, I don't judge. It's just like, if that's the thing. I think we've taken a very specific view, as that KYC and AML is something that we take extremely serious, but we're not gonna carve in. That's like, we don't feel that we want to. This is like, we the real life example, you could say, because we self-funded and we don't have institutional money that is sort of pressing on us and all of that type of thing. And we feel that we want to really go against governments that are trying to regulate us, and we will go into jurisdictions that enable us to do it, and we will go and we will fight. This is like, we'll go up to constitutional courts if necessary, in order to make our case as to why we feel the way that we feel. And if there's no other way, we'll find places where we can do what we want to do. So this is like, and I think that's our ethos.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel very strongly about it. But at the same time, this is like, I think I personally don't want to judge anybody that feels differently about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's at the point now where the companies in the space, like what you're saying, which sounds great, and the people in the space need to start thinking along the lines that we may have to start fighting back in terms of trying to set the policy and help
Precisely.
direct. Governments are made of people. Like, people just point to the governments like it's like this thing, that's this ominous thing. But we could, I mean, as in the United States, you can affect government. It is possible. It's not easy, but there's certainly means of doing it. And as crypto becomes more influential, as which we certainly are, as Wall Street's getting involved and things like that. I think that the next stage is where crypto kind of starts to get a little more political and starts to help influence the rules that are being made.
And that's the thing. It's like, and I think for us, it's about taking a stand. It's like, and our position is quite clear, and we and we'll, this is like, we'll spend our resources in a way that will keep it that way. And if that means that we have to defend ourselves in court or wherever the case it might be, we're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because Bitcoin's got a pretty convenient argument when they're really pressed up against the wall. Now that governments are now realizing, wait a minute, it's a transparent ledger. What are we worried about? This is our wet dream come true here.
So true. So many ways.
Porting over to this transparent ledger where we could just follow everyone's transactions, and they think it's anonymous. I mean, at least they did. That's quickly changing. But so it seems like the real battle.
On this, I do have an opinion. It's like, it's incompetence and ignorance. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Incompetence to not being able to understand what it means, and ignorance because you don't want to invest the time to understand. Mm-hmm. So there's enough people out there that will spend a whole bunch of will spend their own resources at no cost to anybody in order to completely and comprehensively explain to I suppose regulators and policymakers and whoever else what this means. It's like this. Some of it, I think some have tried. I think we've all seen that whole, that whole consultation process in the US, where I think this is like Amber Balday and some others, were speaking in the congressional hearing. I think this was also what 3 months ago, something. Like you did you watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, that was an interesting sort of step in the right direction. Then it says, but it has to go further. I think there needs to be precedent. There needs to be people that say, okay, this is the line. Let's not cross it, and let's see what someone decides.
Yeah, which is why I'd like to see more of these. I'm getting a little bit of echo now. More of these Bitcoin maximalists start to kind of support Monero in terms of what it's trying to be. Only because that's where I see where the real battle is, right? I mean, that's what the whole crypto anarchist movement is about. Creating this cryptocurrency that can't be controlled by any third party, and so like we're learning how Bitcoin is transparent and how governments are almost starting to embrace it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, if you're, in the Bitcoin world, shouldn't you then get a little excited about wanting to help Monero, like the little brother that's really kind of living up to the ideals of what this stuff's supposed to be? And I'm just a little annoyed that I'm not really seeing that. Like, obviously we're all doing this, but I'm not seeing like other ones that are now that they see like the government showing up.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, oh, well, I guess the, Monero is what we should be trying to help out, that we should help out that open source project. Instead, they're kind of like selling out and being like, well, it's great for Bitcoin because now Bitcoin's going to be embraced.
Four different reasons, though, and that's the issue. Then it says 4 different reasons. And this is and the issue, or the main issue, at least I find, is that in some people's mind, privacy equals hiding something, and it's just not true. Then so this is like whereby you and I might think, no, privacy is just like it's nobody else's business. So this is I want to do whatever I want to do with my money, and I want to this is like I don't need anybody looking into it or telling me what to do. It's like this is the question is, what are you hiding? That's something that needs to be settled once and for all. And I completely agree with you that there's probably too little support in getting that done.
Yep. So hopefully that will start to rally people as more regulation and talks are had about it. But yeah, I mean, I always kind of go back to this. I see it more as fungibility instead of privacy, just because I think it's an easier argument to make. And then I ultimately kind of see it as a freedom of speech type of argument. The freedom to transfer value as you wish. I mean, it's kind of a form of speech, right? Being able to use your value, transfer value freely in any way you wish.
Fascinating argument. Yeah, but I agree with you. I in principle, it's just like this is like I personally feel very similarly about it, sort of on a philosophical basis. But I think there are real legal challenges associated with the argument, and this is like, and I think there are precedents that are required reasonably quickly in order to settle the discussion.
So, regulation aside, what are you most excited about in Monero right now? And
I think I'm
Monero community.
Yeah, this is like I'm the most excited about creating real communities. It's like I think we spending a lot of time and resources in doing that. When I say communities, as in people that exclusively use Monero in order to sort of conduct their daily lives in all spheres, kicking out fiat. Then this is living the never fiat life. Then that's really important to us. Then it says we hope to be building that ecosystem at the moment in different places around the world. Turkey is one, Venezuela is another, and some of the sort of LATAM areas then are very sort of interesting followers, and the other part is probably in the Far East. where we see a whole bunch of different adoption in doing that. And quite frankly, then this is in the poorest of the poor down in Africa. Then this is with income levels of sort of below $5 per day, which is ridiculous, driven by mainly inflation and sort of access to banking facility in the first place. That leap then also can be done with Monero, and we extremely excited about that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I guess we could leave it there. That was great.
Thank you so much, man. This is like, thanks for doing this, and congrats on this show. We here at GloBee love the concept and the great work that you guys are doing.
Awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Like I said in the beginning, it's just been great doing the show. It's a product of love, because I mean, I just I'm constantly studying this stuff anyway and following the community. So then to be able to actually talk to the people that are working on it has just been amazing.
Anything you need from us, Dennis, please give us a shout. We're super keen to help.
Sounds good. Hope to have you on again.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Good luck.
For now. Bye-bye.